I don't think I need the encoder going. For some reason it keeps coming up. Let's see if the sound is working. Yep, it's working. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, this was a kind of a cute commercial, and I used to be a big roller skater, so I thought I'd show it to you today, like it or not. We probably got too much to cover, but I don't care. Okay, so this lady drinks a Coke while she's roller skating to work, and all of a sudden, all the people are gone. I speeded it up a little bit so that she skates a little faster. Give her a little youthful enthusiasm. Woo, that's really fast. I was a little surprised that her jacket isn't really PMS red Coke. Anyways, so she really likes the Diet Coke, and she flies away. But, what comes up must go down. There you go. And she's kind of in between. So anyway, it was cute. I liked it, and I used to roller skate a lot. I wasn't as good as that, but I was pretty good. I could dance on roller skates, and my wife thought I could dance because of that. But I can't dance. I can't dance on my feet, but I could dance in roller skates. And she always wanted to marry a dancer, so I snuck that by her. Anyway, let's get to the real world here. What in the world is he talking about today? Can't figure it out. Okay, first of all, this is just the other day. California privacy law requires companies to disclose their inferences. And I was trying to figure out, here's the state attorney general. He doesn't look like a guy I'd want to go up against. Anyway, I was trying to figure out, we basically take the customer master, the order data, and the inventory master file, which tells us what the part numbers mean. And that's first party data. Okay, that's what we collect from our customers when they order. Okay, we got their address, their zip code. And so from that, we attach some 200 variables from the census long form. So it has the number of toilets in your house, and it has, race and religion and stuff like that in it. And how many years of school did you complete in the household and things like that. Okay, it's not real private. We don't go down to the household level. In fact, mostly when we model, we only use 3-digit SCF level on the zip, because when you model and you use household data, there's a lot of noise in it. It doesn't really work when you mail it and you go back and see what happened. But when you have a 3-digit zip difference, it's funny because like the average age in a 3-digit zip is about 35 years old. That's everybody averaged together. It's kind of crazy, right? And the oldest zips are about like maybe 40, maybe 39 or 40. I'm not the zips, but the SCFs. And the youngest are maybe 32 or 31. So it's not a very big range. And you say, well, how the heck can that make any sense? Well, when you look at it, you can spot the old SCFs because they're in retirement areas around Phoenix, around Branson, Missouri, upper Michigan, northern Wisconsin, places where you know that people go to retire, and in Florida. And the younger zips tend to be where there's more kids. And if you look at the presence of kids, it correlates really nicely. So is that an inference or not? I don't know. I really don't. And once we now we don't actually put it on the customer record. We put it in another file, and we joined it as we build the modeling data set because it goes a lot faster that way. So the state attorney general says when it becomes attached to the customer record and used for marketing purposes, then it's part of the customer information. Now, what the law says is that consumers can learn what is collected by companies. Now, this stuff is not collected about them at all. It's collected at the postal code level. It's not even, it's at the census tract, but it's interpreted to that by our mapping company, Maptitude, and which I highly recommend. And I'm going to tag Stuart in this because he's my buddy at Maptitude. Anyway, so it's collected. It is collected, but it's not about them. Okay, not even generally. And then here's the biggest problem with CCPA. Then they can request deletion of that information, or they can collect, or they can ask for the information, and then they can opt out of its sale or transfer. Now, if you delete everything about a customer, name, address, everything, and then they do something, maybe they sign up for a sweepstakes or an online drawing, maybe they visit a website they've been to before, but we can connect their home address to that, and we can send them a mailing. Whatever they do practically in life, they're going to come back into the process. They may have opted out of it for you, right? But they don't know who else has it, and a lot of people can have it. And so when they contact you and say you need to opt them out, you need to not sell their data. You can only control what you do. You can't control what they do next. They could call up and buy from you again. Now they're a brand new customer because you deleted them, including the information that says they don't want their item, they don't want to be mailed, or they don't want to be sold. Mailers have handled this for years. When someone says they don't want to be mailed, we don't mail them, but we don't delete them. And so CCPA at its very core is contradictory. And I think the merchants of California, if not the rest of us, should sue the pants off of them and say this is not executable. It is absolutely not executable. And then when you tag internally generated inferences, well, we probably generate close to 1,000 variables on every customer. You know, mix of geodemographics, mix of, you know, are they increasing or decreasing their purchases? Have they bought lately? What have they bought this category lately? How much did they spend on this category? You know, and we might put a flag in there if we rent lists and we see that they've appeared on the rented lists. You know, then we can get a net name agreement, but we can flag that. You can't flag it at the individual list level, but you can say, okay, let's say you had a home goods company and it was non-competitive with Williams-Sonoma or with Chef's Catalog. And so maybe you sold furniture. Well, Williams-Sonoma sells everything. Maybe Bed Bath & Beyond. So you rent these 3 lists, and this person who wanted to opt out was on there. We could flag that person, or whether they wanted to opt out or not. If we kept their name, we can flag them to not be mailed, even though we rented their name from somebody else. And that's really important, because if they come after you and say, I don't want to ever see your catalog again, but then they buy from someone else that you rent, whose list you rent, they'll get another catalog. And you know, they'll call the state attorney general's office and say, I opted out of that company, Acme Consumer Goods, and they mailed me again. And they're in violation of CCPA. Well, what's the state attorney general going to say? Whoa, yeah, if you opted out and you said to delete, you know, and never mind, we can show that key code on that catalog is the proper key code from a rented list. Unless we have a net name agreement, and we might mail them anyway. If we don't save their name, we definitely would. And that's the hard part. So this law is completely, in my opinion, unenforceable. It's completely self-contradictory. The practice of direct mail goes completely against it. That said, nobody's ready to comply anyway. According to Ray Schultz a couple weeks ago, he said only 11% of companies have figured out a way to send the data subject asset requests. Now, this latest ruling makes this virtually impossible. When we look at a customer record, you know what it is? It's ones, twos, and threes. A 3 is very high something, like high school graduation rate in their zip code, okay? Or dwelling value, 3. We don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't want 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, because that nuance gets lost and doesn't work in the real world. But high, medium, and low, that works. You can model on that, and it works. And I called Travis Seaton last week. I think we should have a modeling contest. I think we should have an industry-wide modeling contest. Cohere One could set it up, because so many of these modeling processes don't tell you what they're doing, and you have really very little way of telling what variables matter and getting the insights that modeling can give you, as we talked about yesterday with Stephen Yu's article. Excellent article. So all we've got is 3s, 2s, and 1s. High, medium, low. High, medium, and low household income inferred from the census data, not from their own data, not collected from the consumer, right? High, medium, and low. And we might have recency. So recency will tell us 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5s are the recent hotline buyers. They bought in the last 3 months. 4s are the 3 to 6 month. They haven't bought for 3 to 6 months. Then the 4s are the 6 to 12 months. The 3s, it's all proprietary information. We have all kinds of special ways of coding those. We have 18-month codes for recency. What did they do in the last 18 months? And ignore the rest in terms of monetary, especially, and frequency. Have they been buying lately a lot or a little? Okay, we can compare things. Anyway, all those things are 3s, 2s, and 1s. If we try, I can't even imagine trying to send that to somebody. And there are variables behind those. So we accumulate the number of total orders. We accumulate the number of returns. It's not even, some clients want the returns treated as subtracted from the orders so that you get a net nothing. Some people want them kept and scored separately. There's, if in apparel, high return customers are better not to mail because they're basically cheating the system. So there's an enormous level of complexity. Literally 1,000 variables are inferred on a customer to see what happens. And it's mostly just throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And our system is very good at seeing what sticks. And then we've got the old guy who looks at the stuff and says, this doesn't make a bit of sense, and then he throws it out. So generally, 95% or higher get thrown away. We won't even use them for anything. Just throw it away. But sometimes when you change an offer, different variables will come to the top and matter. That's the great part about modeling. Having said all this, how do you sufficiently express 1,000 variables? And how does a consumer decipher that? If you live in a fairly low value house, and I say that you're a high value house, the funny part is that if you live in the state of Iowa, you may have a mansion in Iowa, a positive palace in Iowa. And on our scoring system at the national level, you'll be in a low dwelling value geodemographic. You could get really upset with us. And in California, you could live in a hovel and you're still going to be in a high dwelling value geographic area. So you say, well, this is all wrong. Well, no, it's not wrong. It's the way it's defined by the census applied to the whole country. When we do modeling on a city level or on a state level, we have to recode all of that so that it is relevant. In Iowa, there's some much nicer neighborhoods and there's some, rural low-income neighborhoods. You can tell that, but compared to the coasts, everything's low value. So the context matters. It's not just the inference. It's like, this is impossible. This is totally impossible to make sense of. to this element of the law, besides the other element of the law, which is equally ridiculous. You need to be able to keep track of somebody if you want to keep them from getting your marketing materials. So anyway, nobody's prepared for it either. What a surprise. And that's probably enough for today on this rant of data processing. Just want you to know that there's more to this than just protecting the consumer. And I don't know the answer. To tell the consumer what we think we know, it's such a joke because we know we don't know. Tom Fishburne has a great cartoon about, what do we send to the consumer? What do we do now that third-party cookies aren't available that we didn't believe in the first place? Right. It's such thin information, but it can help. Sometimes you'll hit a variable that goes just right through the sky. Like we talked about the percentage of mobile homes as a percentage of dwelling value. It was great. We built special unemployment variables for the COVID shutdown, lockdown. Those didn't work because they were too temporary. And the greatest changes in unemployment were in places that had the greatest employment. Places that had relatively high unemployment stayed about the same. Fascinating. But most of it is worthless. My book is called Spinning Straw into Gold. And straw is a hygiene product that sits under animals and catches the caca that comes out of the animals. That's what your data looks like. We just got data from a retailer yesterday. We'll see. We'll see how much value we can find in it. But generally, it's pretty much garbage. And so to send that to the consumer in a way they can understand, well, nobody's ready for that because there's no good answer. Have a great day. Call your state representative in California and say this is unenforceable, or better yet, file a lawsuit because it's unenforceable and you're not ready anyway. And fight with me. Fight with me for marketing, rationality, and justice. Bye-bye.